The Dice Tower is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. And by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool Stuff, in stock at coolstuffinc.com. The Dice Tower, episode 568.
Real-time games.
Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On today's show, we get to play some of those new games from Gen Con, and we talk briefly about the show, including how Z and I did in the pandemic tournament. We have a tale of board gaming horror and some questions from the mailbag, then we start the timer to bring you our top 10 real-time games. I'm Eric Summerer, and here's your host, the hourglass to my stopwatch, Tom Vassell.
Well, that's not a pop culture reference.
No, it's an object reference. We're heading all the way back into the game components, like the provost to my, whatever the other piece is in Kalis.
I don't think half the people here even know what those pieces mean anymore.
Maybe not. I've blocked it out at this point.
Well, you need to block out a lot of stuff, because it's been like gaming palooza right now. So it is. There is so much gaming going on right now. By the way, folks, I'm Tom Vassell. Welcome to our show.
Hi there, I'm Eric Summerer. Welcome.
And, man, our shelves, I packed them full of games this morning, and there's just too many. But at the same time, I'm looking through these games and just like, I'm thrilled with, like, oh, I can't wait to play that. Can't wait to play that. Can't wait to play that. There's a lot of hot anticipation for me to play some games now, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I've got a whole stack of things that I managed to get from Gen Con that I am super excited to play with the family, and we even set aside a day this past Tuesday. We're like, okay, we're going to play something, right? And then my son, got sick and didn't feel well, and so that whole evening was just shot, and I'm sort of bummed that we didn't get a chance to play any of these games that I rushed home to play with them. We'll get there this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just Gen Con, and Target has so many games right now. It's insane the number of games they have.
Yes, you talked about this on Dice Tower tonight, and you just came. How many did you buy when you were there?
That's not the point.
Okay.
There's just a lot of games there. One of the games I got is a bit like Shocking Roulette. I forget the name of it now because it's not sitting in front of me.
Okay.
But it's like an 8-person version. That's the game where you stick your finger in and you don't want to get shocked?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this one you stick your finger in and it has a depressing key. So basically, it's going to ping, and then you hit the key and you're fine. Or you can double-click it and now it reverses back to the last person. Or you can hit it 3 times and it will skip one person. If you don't hit it fast enough, then you get shocked. Although the shock was like the same as if you touch a piece of metal in a cold weather shock.
Okay.
I thought they kind of dumbed it down, the shock. But you can also play a version of the game without shocking.
Okay.
It just says you're out.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're going to do that, why play this game? That's what I'm saying.
Without pain, it just doesn't count.
Yeah, I don't know. So they have a lot of stuff like that at Target. They got that new Dude game and more Dude from North Star. Have you heard about this game?
I have heard about the game. I was actually trying to do an interview with the Spiel at Gen Con, and we were right next to the Dude booth, and so all we could hear was Dude, 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 while we were trying to have a conversation.
So near as I can tell, it's essentially Happy Salmon. But with cards that say Dude, there's a question mark, there's Dude, there's just Dude with a period, there's Dude. It's a little confusing, I think. But
so it's like exclamation, Dude, Dude.
Right, you say them until you find your partner, then you both get rid of a card.
Okay.
Then there's more Dude, which is the exact same game, except it's like Robot Dude and Surfer Dude. So I think you're like Dude or Dude. I don't know. Either way, that's fascinating to me that they have milked 2 games out of the dumbest concept I could think of, and yet I thought about picking them both up when I saw them at Target.
You know what's funny? That's a real-time game, isn't it?
Yeah. Although, yeah, you're right. Well, some of these shouting games, there's not actually a lot of them, you know. If I had said games like Pit,
Yeah.
there really isn't a lot yet. I don't think.
Well, in the last few years, North Star has released several in that same general genre.
I'm excited because this is the 10th year anniversary and they have a nice new version of Say Anything.
Yes, it looks very pretty.
Yeah, it does. There was just so many games. I came back with a gazillion games, and I'm looking at things like, wait, I didn't even see that game. I missed that game. We're going to build a house out of games. That's all there is to it.
Yes. You just have to keep the shrink wrap on so it remains waterproof.
No, we're just going to run it through and eventually be living in a land of soggy cardboard.
That's disgusting.
So, yes, it is. We just found a meeple on our lawn today. And we're like, how long has that been there? And where did it come from? What game is missing a blue meeple?
It escaped.
And was it always blue? I don't know.
It's blue because it's sad.
Yeah, I've had several instances of that today. We were driving to work and there was a lizard on our windshield. And I said, we're taking him to a new place. A new spot. A new area where he can have his domain. And then we were driving too fast and he flew off the car. He could have made it. I'm really kind of rambling right now, huh?
Maybe a little bit. I think that that sleep deprivation is starting to hit us from our excursion last week.
No, I don't have sleep deprivation, sir. I'm feeling pretty good, actually.
You say you don't.
Because I sleep at cons.
Yes, we've had this discussion.
I'm just dumb when I'm normal.
No, I think there's something up in the air tonight. I'm a little scatterbrained too. I'm not sure how this show's going to go.
Well, let's focus. Let's talk about some games.
Let's.
Why don't you start first and talk about a board game? No video games, just board games.
Yeah, I think I might need to stray away from that just a little bit, because one game I was really excited to check out, not available at Gen Con, but I wanted to demo it, is from Yellow. It's called 8-Bit Box, and it is modeled after a video game system. You buy the basic box, the 8-bit box, and it comes with little controllers that are basically dials that you can set to. There's one that's an up, down, left, right, and there's one that's an A, B, C, D, and then there's a third dial on there that's numbers 0 through 9, actually. And then there's a bunch of modules that you can plug into this thing. It also has some basic components, some cubes, and some dice. And then you've got these modules that are modeled to look like Super Nintendo boxes. You open those up and it has the specific components for a particular game. And these are all modeled after classic video games. There's a Pac-Man analog. There's a F-Zero analog. There's another that's a track and field analog. These are the ones in the main box. And that gives you the special rules and boards and all that stuff for that particular game. We sort of only looked at a few of them, but I played the Pac-Man variant, where one player is the Pac-Man. They call it like Pixely or Pixoid or something like that. Is the runner, and the other players are the chasers, the ghosts in this version. And then you secretly decide your direction and your distance that you want to go. And the runner is trying to escape the ghosts for 12 turns. And if they do so successfully, they're going to earn a full 12 points. But if not, if they get captured, they're going to you score based on how long you survived. And then each player takes a turn being the runner, and whoever scores the most points at the end of that number of rounds wins. It was cute. It's pretty simple. These aren't complex games. The track and field one is like a decathlon, and the F-Zero, the racing game, has weapons and stuff. It's sort of a choose A, B, or C, and that's what you do. And based on what other people do, you're going to move forward or backward or fire weapons or get energy and stuff. Interesting sort of playground. It's one of these games that here's a bunch of components, here's a system that we've created, and here are ways to use that system. And I have to give them tremendous credit for the presentation. These game pads feel really slick. They're sort of shaped like Super Nintendo controllers. They're all packaged in a way that the box is sort of textured to feel like an NES console. It's pretty neat the way it all came together. Will it have staying power? I'm not sure. is this something that I'm going to want to pull out a lot, or is this really going to rely on the novelty of the whole thing? Presentation gets an A for sure. I don't know if the games are going to have the depth to really propel this into something that's going to have legs with multiple releases down the line. But that's 8-Bit Box, upcoming from Yellow.
Yeah, I've seen this one. Sam has it. I was looking at it. It looks pretty cool. My only complaint would be basically the punch tiles for the modules are really thin. Yeah, well, we'll see. Like I said, I'm excited to try it out, and I'm excited to try each of these modules, and I'm hoping that this turns into a really cool system for them.
Sure.
All right, Keyforge. I think I'm required contractually to talk about this game because this is easily the biggest talked about game from Gen Con. It may not be the biggest played game or the most popular or whatever, but it's definitely having people talk about it because it's so different. So Keyforge is what Fantasy Flight Games and Richard Garfield, the designer, is calling a unique game. It's your standard, the game itself is your standard deck versus deck. Eric has a deck, I have a deck, we play each other. And we're trying to open up 3 keys to win. By the way, I think it's a mistake to call it Keyforge, since Richard Brees, I believe, should just have the rights to anything that starts with key.
Key, yes.
Oh, he has Cathedral, Key Town, Key... Oh, there's so many key games from him.
Yes. It's at least confusing.
It is. But anyway, it probably won't be. In fact, maybe some people will buy his games now. They'll be like, oh, let's get this Cathedral
It's an expansion.
It's an expansion of Keyforge.
Yeah.
Suckers. So anyway, Keyforge, you're trying to open 3 keys, and you have some monsters and things. And I'll talk about the game in a second. But what's interesting about this game is that every deck that is ever made and ever will be completely different. I don't know what the printing technology is that allows them to do this, but literally, if Eric bought a deck right now, that deck will never exist again.
Wow.
There are 7 factions, 350 cards, but not just the card mix is unique, but the back of every card will have a unique name. You know, it might be like Sir Ufchkavama. You know, it might be Eric's guy, my guy might be Midst of the Supo. I just made those names up. And then there's also a picture of that person, which is also randomly generated. And that name that's on the back of each card is also on the front of each card, at the bottom.
Huh.
I don't know how they're doing this. You know, it sounds like a print and play thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, of course, the big thing everyone screams about, are they balanced? What happens if you get the super rare deck that's better than everyone else's deck, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, they have said some decks might be better than others, and there's a built-in system that basically you have a handicap if you play against a deck that's better than yours, and I assume they will have that system at tournaments since every deck comes with a QR code, and they've kind of alluded maybe you'll be able to play these decks online?
Huh.
I'm not sure. But definitely you'll be able to get the list of it online, and so they can keep track of how well your deck does.
Oh,
Other
interesting.
people are annoyed because they want to deck build.
Right.
But for people like, well, Eric and others, this might not be a problem because they don't normally build decks.
Right.
Unless you do and I don't know about it.
Well, or you will only want to buy 1 or 2 decks, modules, and don't want to go through the hassle of buying blind packs for a game that's not Pokemon.
Oh, that's right, Pokemon. Oh, some kids in my neighborhood taught my kids Pokemon. I'm going to go find those kids.
So it's possible that you bring this deck to an organized play event and it gets scanned by whatever organized play system they have, and you might be told, oh, your deck's really good, you're going to be playing at a disadvantage in this first round.
Sure, you get these chains. You get a certain number of chains, and if you I think up to 6 chains, you draw 1 less card each turn. But every time you do that, you lose a chain. So the more chains you have, the bigger disadvantage you'll be at. It sounds like it might work. I don't know. These decks every deck I've seen 8 different decks now, and they are all fairly different. Each one has a very different style. There's rare cards, and so this deck has a couple rare cards, and that one has a couple rare cards. They have this algorithm set up. So, like, for example, I think there's the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse. If you get one of them, you get all 4 of them.
Huh.
Right, so I don't know how they're doing this. I don't know how they make it. There's 7 different factions, and you get 3 houses per deck. So there's 35 different possible combinations of houses you can get. You get 12 cards of each. It's a 36-card deck. And, okay, so the game itself is really intriguing because the way the game works is you have a hand of cards, and on your turn, you can play as many cards as you want. You can just put them out in front of you. You can attack with the cards, do whatever you want, but only from one of the 3 houses.
Okay.
So if I have a big monster in front of me and I want to hit Eric with that monster, and he's from the Mars house, but I want to do the Wild house instead, because I want to play a couple wild cards in front of me, I can, but then I can't attack with that monster. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how that all works. And you're also wiping each other's guys out all the time and playing these big power plays. Your deck, if it runs out, you shuffle it and use it again and keep going. But you're mining amber and trying to get amber, because if you have 6 amber at the beginning of your turn, you get one of the 3 keys. You get 3 keys, you win the game.
Okay.
It's really fascinating. I'm telling you, I'm curious about it. You can watch a live play. Me and Sam will have had played this game by the time you guys are listening to this video, so you can watch and see how it works.
Okay, cool. I guess I'm wondering how this is all going to play out in the long tail of this system without the deck building and the card chasing aspect with the blind packs. Is it going to have the like, how many decks are people going to buy for this game?
Well, that's the thing, though, right? We're looking at the perspective of Magic the Gathering. Mm-hmm. But that may not be the right perspective. Like, what if in 95 you and I had been in the room and Richard Garfield got up and talked about collectible card games for the first time?
Well, we might have been like,
what?
People aren't going to buy cards they can't see? What, there's more than 52 cards in a deck? You fool.
Right, so maybe that's what we have here. But maybe we're not looking at it. Like, people say, well, how are people going to buy more decks? Well, I mean, when games like Summoner Wars and other games came out, people bought the decks and played the game. Mm-hmm. They didn't, like, say, there's lots of card games out there that don't have expansions. The difference about this one is just your deck is different than everyone else's deck. And so Richard Garfield says, you need to learn how to use your deck.
Yeah.
I don't know. The concept's interesting. I like it so far. I'm really curious to see how the secondary market, will people put whole decks online and you're looking for a specific deck.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so I already know the 3 factions I like the best. So, okay, I want one of those. So 1 out of every 35 decks is going to have those 3 houses in it.
Yeah.
But now there's a couple rare cards I like, too. So I want those and those 3 factions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So now it's not 1 out of 35, it's 1 out of, who knows how many.
Right. It's going to be some very complicated eBay listings.
Not really complicated, because you literally...
I guess you just list every card.
There's a checklist that comes in each deck, Eric.
Ah.
So you just take a picture of that checklist.
There you go. Okay.
Has a QR code and everything.
Yep. Well, people are going to break the rules and start making their own decks anyway. They're going to come up with a special way to play where...
Sure, but I mean, you could break the rules of any game that exists.
Sure. I just think they're going to all break that rule.
No, I don't think so. I'm going to take the high... I'm going to say people are going to take the high road here. We'll wait and see. Anyway, that's Keyforge that we've been talking about. This is designed by Richard Garfield from Fantasy Flight Games.
I was excited to try Mint Delivery. This is a new release that comes in a little tin. It's part of a series of games. Mint Works was the first one I played of this series. That comes in this nice little metal tin, somewhat like a mint container. Mint Delivery is a pick up and deliver game that's played with cards. You take out a bunch of these cards, you make a map. It's a 3x3 grid, basic grid of cities. There's a main city in the center, and then there's some warehouses on the sides, and then in the corners are some of the delivery spaces. You will shuffle a deck of delivery cards that have orders. People want one of 3 different types of mints. There's a regular white mint, there's a sugar-free mint, and there's a cinnamon mint.
Which is the best?
Cinnamon's the best? Okay. And different cities are going to want different sets of mints, and you have your truck that you can drive around and pick up mints. You have storage of up to 4 mints. And you start with basic mints, but you can trade those mints in to get the sugar-free or the cinnamon mints, and those are worth more points if you deliver them to different areas. There's a basic game that's just about it that I explained. You continue playing until the stack on 2 of the cities is gone, or all of the cards on 4 cities are... Yes, all of the available orders are gone on 4 cities. That makes sense. But there's also an advanced version that has some special powers. Like if I've delivered 2 orders, I can spend an action to claim a special power that I can then use for the rest of the game. Also, there's some weather or traffic or terrain markers that get randomly put out that sort of randomizes that setup that is extremely basic in the basic game. I wholeheartedly support playing with those advanced rules. It makes this game far more interesting. I felt it was a little too basic in the basic version, which is fine. It's like sort of the learning game. I would definitely say quickly move on within a game or two to those advanced rules because it makes it far more interesting. But it plays in about like 30, 40 minutes or so. It moved at a pretty good clip. We immediately wanted to try it again with those special rules. I enjoyed it, and it's got extreme portability. It's not quite as thin as an Altoids box, but it is pretty darn close. Mint Delivery gets a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, it's probably in too small of a container, I think.
It barely fits.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I'm keen on that. I mean, I get it. You want to be in a small container, but you got to fit in the box. But I like it. It's good. It's really simplistic, though. I mean, Mint Works was also simplistic, but felt cool and different. This one feels good. I don't dislike the game, but it doesn't really feel that different. You're essentially picking up and delivering. It's like the most basic pick up and delivery game I know of, actually.
It's pretty, yeah, especially that basic version. You definitely need to ramp up to the special powers and the tunnels and the traffic and the extra elements on the board that make it a more interesting game. What I want to do is put this side by side with the Great Heartland Hauling Company, which I haven't played in a couple of years, but it feels like they both fit in that same sphere, the small footprint, card-based pick-up and deliver game. I'm not sure which one would come out on top.
Man.
I liked it, though.
I didn't even think about comparing it to Great Heartland Company. Yeah. They're very similar, now that you mention that. All right. Hail Hydra is the next game I'm talking about. No, I'm not.
I thought you were just declaring your allegiance.
Huh?
I thought you were just declaring your allegiance. That's the game you're talking about next.
That's what I whisper in your ear, Eric. I'm like, Hail Hydra.
Nice.
You know, Hail Hydra is a game that I don't think anybody knew about going into Gen Con. I hadn't heard of it.
No.
But their advertising was really well done. They had really cool stuff all over the convention. The game itself looked neat. And it's so fun. So Hail Hydra, you are a group of superheroes. You get to pick which superhero you want to be. You can be Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, some various different ones. Not all from the movies. It's done in a comic book art. And very, very good stylized comic book art. So you are trying to stop a series of villains. You'll put a pile of villains down, 5 in the full game, 3 in a shorter game. Final villain is Red Skull. All right, so you have this pile that you go through. You'll turn over a pile, and that villain will have a certain number of hit points. Let's say they have 6 hit points. Great. You got to take them out. So everyone is playing cards, 1 to 3 cards from their hand. These cards are positive and negatives. You mix them all up, you reveal them, and if the positive outweighs the negative, that's how many hit points you take away from the villain. If you don't kill the villain, or knock him out, or whatever it is, then the villain will do a certain amount of damage to the city. If the city gets a 0, the Hydra people win. Because, did I not mention, a good chunk of the people playing are Hydra. Not half, but almost half. Now, once you defeat the first villain, you can then, there's a voting phase, and you can pick somebody who does not even get to fight against the next villain. That person can still be involved. They can pass cards to another player of their choice. And And also at any point, people can declare that they are for Hydra, in which case they can play cards against the villain, but they play theirs face up. And they play them first, so you kind of know what you're going up against.
Right.
This game is amazing. It's so much fun. It's basically a really fast, streamlined Battlestar Galactica. I will never play Battlestar Galactica again.
Okay.
This just pulverizes that game because it does the same thing in 30 to 45 minutes. And adds a little bit of resistance in.
Huh.
Also, it's Marvel. Good-looking Marvel.
Huh.
And each hero has their own special ability. There's a lot of yelling, especially when Jason and Melody are in the game and they're not in the same team. Or actually, they were on the same team, but they thought they weren't on the same team. Anyway.
Right.
A lot of laughing.
Yeah.
Betrayal. Because at the beginning, everyone's trying to be good. Because if people know you're Hydra, they'll just exclude you from fighting, and it's a whole lot easier to beat the bad guys when people know that you're when you're excluded, right?
Right, yeah.
Ah, it's such a good game. I really highly recommend this one. And I went into it like, meh, another social deduction game, because there's a ton of them out there right now.
Yeah.
This one has catapulted to one of my favorite of the whole genre.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I saw the advertisements everywhere. They were actually pretty close to our booth. Who's the publisher on this?
Spin Master Limited.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, so they were also showing off 5-Minute Marvel, which I haven't played yet, but I'm pretty sure it's just 5-Minute Dungeon with another skin on it.
Ah, okay. So I saw the advertisements and never got a chance to see the play or really find out more about what kind of game it was, but that's some pretty high praise. I'm going to have to check this one out.
I'm telling you, I played a lot of games this past week, and I'm hesitant to say it's my favorite because there's so many good ones. But it is easily the one I had the most fun with. It was just that good.
Well, longtime fans of the podcast know that one of my favorite train games is TransAuropa. Nice and simple, a route-building sort of game. And I had always chalked up the sister game, TransEuropa, to being basically the same game, but with a different map. No real mechanical difference, which I believe was the case. Although now there is a new version of TransEuropa from Rio Grande Games. And they've added a rule that I wanted to try out. I managed to go to the Rio Grande room and give it a whirl with Jason, which was fun. He destroyed us. And this is the ferry rule. So in TransAuropa and TransEuropa, you get 5 cities. They're sort of spread around the map. You get one of each color, and your job is to connect them via wooden sticks, little trains. And you can build... You get 2 actions on a turn. You can spend 1 action to build on flat land. You can spend both of your actions to cross a river or cross a mountain. Or these new ferries. You get 3 colored sticks, which in TransAuropa were for the Vexation expansion, but this is for ferries in TransEuropa. You can start, for one of your 2 actions, start a ferry across one of the channels on the map. There's sort of green wavy lines instead of the standard black lines. But you cannot complete that. It takes 2 sticks to make a ferry, but you can't complete it on the same turn that you started it. So you have to wait until your next turn before you could complete that ferry and have it be just yours. You're the only one that can use that route. But someone else can join you to complete that ferry route, and now both of you have access to that route, but none of the other players do. And this plays up to 6 people, so that could be only 2 out of the 6 of you that have access to that particular route. Now, I thought this was a pretty minor change, but it actually changes things in an interesting way, especially in a 3-player game, which we were playing, because you only have 3 of these colored sticks. You can only cross a maximum of 3 ferries, but if you're working alone, you can only cross 1 on your own because you only have 1 stick left. So you have to work with the other players, perhaps crossing the channel when you didn't intend to, when you didn't want to, because you need their help in order to cross all the channels that you need to complete all of your cities. And so that means you're building your initial hub maybe closer to the other players than you intended to, or maybe watching them trying to link up with their routes more quickly, because if they start the ferry route before you're connected to their network, you can't continue building the ferry. It seems like a small change, but it's actually a pretty interesting one. If it weren't for the horrible graphic design on this This would be very high on my purchase list to play with the family. I really enjoyed the new TransEuropa. I think it's ugly as all get out. The board itself is fine. It's still the nice minimalist design that the series has always had. But the card art and the box art, anyway, thumbs up.
And the gameplay.
The gameplay is great.
No. You should keep going.
No.
Tell the truth.
No, I enjoyed it.
All right. The next one I want to talk about is Pantone. This is a game that comes with a bunch of swaths of colors.
Yes.
In it, and you get you get 3 characters, and you're going to make basically a really, really blurred picture of these people, these characters. They're mostly characters from video games, comic books, TV shows, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so you make this picture. You're going to have 3 rounds. In the first round, you can use as many of these Pantone cards as you want. In the second round, you can only use 1 of each color. And in round 3, you can just use 3 cards, period. And if everyone goes around the table guessing at what it is. If no one gets it, you give a clue that's on the card. They guess it again, and you give another clue. I don't think we ever got past clue 2. Maybe we got to clue 3 one time. But after a while, I could guess it without even looking at the picture. The clues would give it away.
Huh.
You know, if it's going to say video game and then plumber, there's not too many of those out there.
Yep. Yeah.
That type of thing.
Got a 50% chance.
I really like it. It's a lot of fun. It's silly. It's more of a game that's an experience. I mean, you're trying to win. You get points to both the guesser and the person who made the Pantone swath or whatever it's called. They get points, and you get more points the earlier someone guesses it. There are some that are definitely easier to do than others. And I don't think I would ever play this game with the older people. Unless they were kind of hip in the pop culture. Not that I'm hip. But it's definitely video game, cartoons, anime, comic books. There's a lot. Because those are people who are colorful.
Right. Yeah.
And because of that, and that's one of the small problems. But the other small problem is that the game, you're going to run out of cards pretty quickly. And so if we, let's see, I put it like 2 or 3 times now. And if I played it again, I would sit there going, is that this person? Is that this person? Because I know those people are in the box.
How many cards are in there?
I want to say 150.
Yeah, that seems a little low for a trivia game.
Yeah, they're going to need expansions for the stat, I think. But I did like it. It's still a lot of fun. Those are the only problems with it. So that's Pantone, the game, and that's from Cryptozoic Entertainment, designed by Scott Rogers.
Yes, Professor Scott Rogers.
Wait, do we know Scott Rogers?
Yeah, that's the Scott Rogers that was on this program and is now on Ludology.
Oh.
Yes, indeed.
Well, then this game is garbage.
Yes, this was high on my list to check out. I have not had a chance to play it. I didn't bring a copy home either. But it looks cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Okay. Well, that's gaming. Man, a lot of stuff going on there. Now let's talk a little bit about Gen Con. All right, so Gen Con. We just want to talk briefly about that. We know that you guys get tired of hearing about cons sometimes, but this one is a pretty major con, and it has major repercussions on the hobby.
Yes.
I don't know if they've announced how many people came to the convention.
It's weird. I saw the press release. They said it was a record-breaking attendance, but then they didn't, in that email, say how many people there were. So
a lot of people came.
Yeah.
Believe us.
I feel like maybe certain records were broken, but I bet the attendance was slightly lower than last year. And I think they said more families came this year. Maybe Sunday was a higher attendance than they've had before. It was still a lot of people. I mean, even if there were fewer people there, it still felt full throughout. And I think we said this for the last couple of years. We used to see sort of a ramping up. Like Thursday was really busy, and then there'd be a lull on Friday. We haven't seen that Friday lull in a while. It's been busy constantly throughout the 4 days.
It's tough to move around in that exhibit hall, but I mean, it's possible, but it's tough. And actually, it seems like the most crowded spots are where the small publishers are. Now, I think that's just because of space. When you get to the big publishers, they have big, wide open spaces there.
Right. Well, they have the room and the logistics to do larger lines. There's more room to spread out and see different releases. You get a small publisher that only has a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 20 booth, and that's all the space they have. Like Game Right, they had Forbidden Sky and also Trash Pandas, which was very popular as well. And they had a tiny little section to maybe get 8 people into their booth to make a line, and then they had to wrap them around their booth, and then I don't know what happened after that because I ran.
Yeah. Yeah, it was certainly a busy time, and, I kind of went into Gen Con, and I'm going to speak slightly in disagreement with one of our lovely co-hosts on the other Dice Tower, but I don't remember which one it was, said that there didn't seem to be a lot of good games at Gen Con. Was it Mandy or Suzanne? I can't remember.
I don't remember either one of them saying
Well,
that.
whoever it was wrong. There was so many good games there. So many good games. I was so excited. I mean, I'm just thrilled to try out all these exciting games. I mean, we just talked about... some of the games we just talked about came from Gen Con.
Yeah.
8-Bit Box. Well, 8-Bit Box actually is Essen.
Yes.
But Hail Hydra, Keyforge, Pantone, that's all Gen Con stuff, and that's just some of the games. There's so many cool ones. I'm so pumped right now about gaming. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best year ever or the best Gen Con ever, but for me, it was a really great Gen Con for the Dice Tower.
Yeah, we were very busy.
Our live show, which I kind of went into, I handed the keys to the game shows off to Z and Mandy. I cut the music. I was in charge of getting news and stuff for it, but I was kind of like, man, I don't know if this is going to go off very well at all, and it was one of the best shows we've ever done.
It was certainly fun.
Or let me rephrase that. It was one of the best received shows. I would hesitate to say we've done great shows. And I got rest. I mean, it was busy. Don't get me wrong. During the day, it was crazy busy, but we're getting into our groove. We're learning when to eat, where to eat, not to eat too much. Where to hang out, what to do at night, not to kill yourself. I mean, all these little things that we're doing, I think we're learning how to Gen Con well.
Yeah. Yeah, I still feel bad that I don't get to play as many games while I'm at Gen Con. By the time we're done with booth duties and whatever we're doing for dinner that night, and then sometimes there's some sort of event we need to be at, and then it's 9 o'clock. Sometimes 10, and I don't want to be up that much later than that at a convention because I got another big day in the next day. I don't have time to play more than 1 or 2 games, and then that's it. So I find a table in the hotel and sit down and play a few. Somebody that happens to be walking by, hey, you want to play this game? And then I hear folks saying, oh, I didn't get to play anything with Tom or Eric or Sam, and there's no opportunity to do that. It's difficult and frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, but I go in knowing that we're not going to play games there.
I guess.
There's 2 cons where we don't get to play many games. Gen Con and Essen.
That's true. Yeah, the same thing happens at Essen, and then I think we're even more tired, and we fall asleep while playing the game.
On top of that, too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. One thing I really did enjoy this year is I went to a lot of the charity events, and they were amazingly fun. I mean, granted, part of it, I did go because of Jack Vassell Fund was there, but man, Card Hala being knocked down was such a great experience. Watching the kids destroy the balloons at the end. Mm-hmm. The charity auction was really neat, and I really got a kick out of that. And even running the charity booth and having people come by and talk to us there, it was actually a quieter setting.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And yes, I was at the Card Hala destruction as well. That was fun. I think I got to see more of. You can see if you visit my Twitter handle at Eric Summerer, you can find I did a timestamp progression of pictures as Card Hala grew, and then I don't have video of the destruction, but I do have a picture of the aftermath up there. And then it's just all gone. It's this crazy ethereal thing that builds up and is gorgeous and beautiful and then raises money and then gets destroyed. That's it. It's crazy.
Oh, but it was destroyed with great vigor. That's
Yes.
for sure. You can see the video on our channel and Amy and Melody's blog. I took some footage and stuck it in there. That was so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just a great time. We had a good time, too. Like, all the Dice Tower folk were there. So we got to see everybody, spend some time together. And we got to see tons of you guys. And I really appreciate that. So many people stopped by the booth. And I apologize for when people come by and say, remember we met last Gen Con? And I don't. Because I'm stupid and can't remember people. Although I'm starting to remember some people. If you do a magic trick, I remember that.
Well, sure. If you come to the booth with a puppet, that usually makes an impression.
Oh, man. You're kind of opening the door there. But, all right.
I'm fine with that.
Anyway, overall, I was very happy with Gen Con. It's, I'm very hesitant to ever say Gen Con's my favorite convention of the year. I don't think any of us would say that, actually. But it is exciting. And I never regret going. I'm always glad to go home, mostly because there's so many good games. My shelves look happy again. They were looking a little sad. And I'm excited about I'll tell you what, I think gaming is still alive and well.
I think it's doing all right.
Asmodee does not own everything.
That's true. One thing that Asmodee does own, though, is Pandemic. And we got to play Pandemic. Z and I got to play in the tournament, which I don't know if I mentioned here on this program, but at Dice Tower Con, I qualified for Pandemic Survival, which is the... I guess we may have talked about it in the live show very briefly, but we did the tournament where you have a two-person team and everyone's using the same infection deck. They're on the same rolls, the same setup. The only thing that's different is your decisions. And Z and I competed in two rounds of this competition. We tied for second place, lost on the tiebreaker, didn't make it to the finals in the first round, and then we got destroyed in the second round. So no trip to Italy for Z and me, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it stressed Z out more than he wanted. I think he wants to go back to regular. I may have broken him on Pandemic for a while. But when he recovers, he'll be happy to play regular Pandemic again.
It was fun to watch them. They were so serious.
Oh, yes. Oh, they don't pull any punches.
I wanted to make like cat calls and stuff, and I couldn't. Because even I was like, that's like making a joke at a funeral. No.
It was serious. I mean, what's really serious is that it's you have a minute 15 to take your turn. And that goes by very, very quickly. I'm used to playing Pandemic much more casually. What do you guys think we should do? Any ideas? Do you have cards that can help me? There's none of that. You have maybe one choice A, choice B, and you can discuss for 10, 15 seconds, and then you have to start taking your move, because if you haven't completed all your actions, when time's up, you lose those actions, and you don't want that to happen. We had one team that did happen to them, and they got severely discombobulated and couldn't really recover and get back on track. It was not fun.
All right. Well, that is our thoughts on Gen Con. I'm sure we'll mention it more as time goes by. That's a happy thing. Let's get horrific.
And now, another tale of board gaming horror.
Oh my, that's horrific.
Gather round, children. My wife introduced me to board gaming 11 years ago when we first got together. We played Ticket to Ride Europe over 100 times in the first months of our relationship, proud of our play record of 20 minutes from the game box being taken off the shelf to it was back on it. Since then, our taste has evolved. While I am mostly in the cult of the new, my wife almost only wants to play games she knows, and the game Alchemists with the expansion has been our two-player game of choice lately. I was on a winning streak, with me animating the golem in every game and winning heavily, and I was rubbing it in. One morning we set up a game of Alchemists at breakfast with the golem expansion. We readied our apps and played until round 5. My deductions were going great despite a rough start. I was confident in my theories and was about to publish my third theory when my wife debunked one of my theories. I was shocked and baffled. What have I done wrong? I lost it. I couldn't find the answer and gave up and just tried desperately to animate the golem and sell some potions at the market, but she was before me in turn order, so I only got 3 actions in the last round. To my surprise, she was saying, "You're going to win." Well, let's see the answers. To our shock, we had different answers showing on our phones. She had written the wrong code. I was furious. This was the second time she had made that mistake. She just laughed, and that did not help. I would have done it again. The look on your face was priceless, she said. You struggled so hard. But the story does not end there. A couple of days later, I had a friend from a board game club over at my house on our regular board game night, and we agreed to get alchemists on the table after we had told them about the last game and the app failure. You are not allowed to write down your own letters in the app. I don't trust you, I cockily claimed. I grabbed my wife's phone and hastily wrote down the letters from my phone. I lay my phone down and asked her to check if it was correct. And we were off. It was fun. We had a great time. We were all neck and neck until the fourth round when my wife said, "This is wrong." "Wrong," I said. "Can you check the code?" "Didn't you check it?" I asked. "No, I trusted you," she replied. And I, the gloating husband, had, to my shock and embarrassment, written down the wrong code for her. I looked in my wife's eyes. She took it far more gracefully than me. "Can we backtrack?" And so she did, and won for the first time in 3 years, and for the first time with the expansion.
I don't think I can laugh at this one because
If you go through the whole
this
game
is the kind of thing that's happened to me before,
and find out, you're always sort of paranoid that maybe something happened like this. Like if when I did play this game, I had one of those moments where I was like, no, there's no way that could possibly be right. I must have missed something. But then I also wonder, maybe they got the code wrong and they're playing with a different version of the app than I am.
Oh, I always read it out really loud, like A7.
Yeah.
Okay, repeat after me. But no, I'm just saying in general, like I'll be like, no running. I don't want to see anything get spilled at my house. And then who's the next person to spill something?
Is it you?
Yeah.
No.
Thanks, Captain. Okay. Let's get to some questions. We got some short and sweet ones this week.
Sure.
Tom?
Tom.
Tom.
Hi, Tom.
How do you pack your hats for safe travel?
If you were stranded on a desert island with one of the aliens from Cosmic Encounter, which one would it be?
Tom, gamers want to know. Is that Eric's real voice?
And now, the Dice Tower will authoritatively, definitely, possibly, maybe, answer your questions.
Tom, which way to the game library?
Our first question is from Blaine, and he did a Tom is Wrong segment for Board Game Breakfast where he got on my case for not liking little games. I think he's talking about the Tiny Epics. And I said, I kind of responded to that, but then I said, I still wish Tiny Epic Galaxies was bigger. And so he said, okay, fine. There's a lot of other space exploration games that are bigger. Terraforming Mars, Zaya, Roll and Race for the Galaxy, Twilight Imperium, Star Wars Rebellion, Alien Frontiers, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
He says, but how many good small box space exploration games are there? Tiny Epic Galaxies. Maybe you can count Pocket Mars, he says, but it's not as good. So if Tiny Epic Galaxies had been made bigger, I still wouldn't have one. But maybe we can both advocate for Game One Games to come out with a limited edition deluxeified big box version. They produce ultra tiny Epic Kingdoms, which is ridiculous, and I will never touch it. That's me saying that part. So they've already reprinted one game in a different size. Yeah, they made Tiny Epic Kingdoms even smaller.
Yes.
That's actually an interesting, clever idea. I don't know how much the cost to that would be, though. It's always easy to say, the company should do this. But if it's too expensive for them. I get what you're saying. It's just that you say, what other space exploration games in small formats are there? I'm saying, I don't care if there's ever any. Because I want my space exploration games to be bigger. Because it's a big thing. Like we were just talking earlier about Mint Delivery. That's a small little game. I'm okay with it because it feels small. It's not called Worldwide Delivery and Exports. That's a pretty boring name. But you know what I mean. It's not... I don't know, it just feels small, so I'm okay with it being small.
So you're really just objecting to the semantics that you don't think they should be claiming to be epic anything if they are in fact small like that.
No, I don't want to keep getting... I'm trying not to make that same argument all the time. I don't want to keep banging down the Tiny Epic door. It does feel like a big game. My only thing with Tiny Epic Galaxies was I wish it was bigger, that's all. I feel like it could have been bigger. It could have been easy to move the pieces around. Because it's small, I have to squint more. I have to squish everything into that box. The pieces are small for my fingers. Maybe I'm just getting old. Get off my lawn.
So you want a larger player mat, really? Because the cards wouldn't need to be any bigger. They're just cards.
Yeah. The boards were too small, though.
Okay.
Anyway, it's not a big deal. I'm not even fighting over this. I'm just answering the question.
You could always blow them up on the
Fine with the
copier.
game as is.
Okay, anyway.
I'm not putting together the thing. That's too much work.
Sam asks, what is the most unusual player color you've seen in a game?
I don't really have an answer for this, because I've seen pretty much every player color.
Yeah, I do like when, that some games, many games these days, are not going with the standard red, green, blue, red, green, blue, yellow assortment.
That'd be a terrible color combination.
Green, blue, red. I'll be red. No, I'm red. We can both be red. But are going for a different color palette entirely, and that could be for colorblind friendliness. It could just be that it fits the palette of the game better. I sort of like that sometimes you get white and purple and blue or light blue.
I think it's like white, purple, black, and green. I think are the. I can't remember. Yeah, but we're starting to see combinations like that.
Yeah, but
here's what I don't want. Don't make your player colors the same as piece colors on the board. Stop doing that.
Absolutely not. That's a terrible idea. As long as they're not related. If they're related, sure. But yeah, if I'm never going to be associated with the yellow cubes, don't allow me to be the yellow player. Anyway. Maybe like a light tan or a puce. A good plum. There we go. Not really purple,
Well,
but
plum
more
is
of
fine.
a lighter
What's the difference
lavender.
between plum and purple, though? I wouldn't even know.
I don't know. But Pandemic has a lot of crazy colors because they have so many different shades for their various roles.
That's true.
They've had to come up with some
Dice
very
Masters
interesting
has every
shades.
color in the world for their dice.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's what I also don't want. I also don't want anyone to repeat the mistake that Royal Turf did in one of their editions, where they had brown, slightly lighter brown, tan, slightly lighter tan, and white.
But they were all supposed to look at horses. They looked like horses. But they should have had better jerseys or something.
They should have just put a rider on the back of each one and made it purple, green.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Raphael says, how do you pronounce the company that's Cool Mini or Not? CMON. How do you pronounce that? He says he thinks it's come on. And his wife says it's pronounced like Simon. He says our marriage cannot continue happily until we have this settled.
You're both wrong? Is that a good thing?
According to them, according to the company, it's Simon.
Yeah.
According to Tom Vassell, that's fine, but come on would have been a cooler name.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think come on
I still think
is
most people call him Cool Mini.
Yes. Yes. Because everyone got used to calling it Cool Mini or Not. But yeah, Simon is what we have heard from employees of the company. So Richard has often refers to Lords of Waterdeep as his favorite game that he doesn't already own. He loves the way that it allows him to alter the board by purchasing shops. Even if that's not the win condition, he puts a worker there every turn that he can. He saw the recent top 10 worker placement games and top 10 overrated games where, Tom, you referred to Champions of Midgard as an improved Lords of Waterdeep. So he investigates this and finds that there's the similarity to the cube questing in Lords of Waterdeep, but it doesn't have the shops. Maybe this isn't as significant a part of the game for others, he says. For those of us who love Lords of Waterdeep for the way it lets us use our workers to change the board in unique ways from game to game, and have many friends that already own this game. However, is there something out there that addresses this aspect of the game as well, or perhaps even better?
Right. I kept them both, so I'm not going to argue too strongly on. I like Champs of Midgard better, but I still kept Lords of Waterdeep. I like it, and I definitely agree with you. That's my favorite part of Lords of Waterdeep, to own your own thing. Le Havre does that. Kalis kind of does that.
A little bit.
Harvest does that, I think. Man, this is like something that the more worker placement games that do this, like you own this worker placement and it's yours, and if other people use it, you get a benefit.
Right.
I like that idea a lot. I've always thought that's a fun thing.
Yeah. Alien Frontiers has a little bit of that if you have the faction boards.
Oh, yeah. I like that too.
Yeah.
All right, Tom says, does the person teaching a game have a responsibility to know the distribution of cards in a deck? Is this a fair question to ask when learning a game? I've been asked this on several occasions when teaching games, and I very rarely have a good answer. Should that be considered a component of your strategy? He says, but he understands players count cards, but as a teacher, it makes me do more work when teaching to teach what I consider to be an unfun aspect of many card games. This is not me, Tom. This is a different Tom. Because I disagree with him that I want to know the distribution of cards every single time I play a game. Like earlier in this game, we talked about Hydra, Hail Hydra, right?
Yeah.
I want to know how many cards are in that deck. It's
Yes.
50-50, good cards and bad cards, but the bad cards have slightly higher numbers.
Well, I mean, I think what you just said...
That's useful information.
Yeah, what you just said is good information. What I don't need is a complete... All right, there are 4 1s, there are 6 2s. Like, I don't necessarily need the full breakdown, but it is useful information just to get a general sense of how... What the percentage is of good versus bad, high versus low, what the range of points might be. Like, if there's a face-down pile of points... that I could, if I do this action, I get to draw one of these tiles, and they have extra points on them. Well, what's the range of those points? If I see a 4-point tile...
The rulebook tells you all this anyway.
Right, but Tom is suggesting not... Like, he's upset that he has to look this up. I think it's important to have, and I think it's bad if a rulebook doesn't say that. If they don't give you the distribution of those cards, that's a problem, because then you got to count, and who wants to do that?
It's even... Well, I won't... If the rulebook doesn't have it, I'm like, well, we don't know.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
If it's a card game, like a trick-taking game, though, I must know. I will probably not play it unless you tell me the distribution. You have to tell me what's in that deck.
Yeah.
That's critical to the strategy of those games. For every other game, it is what it is. Sometimes if you just say, well, there's a lot more of these cards than other cards, I'm good with that. As long as I know kind of the sense of it.
Yeah. I think this is one of those things that as a game teacher, you should sort of have a sense of, even if you don't have the exact answer. It's another thing that you should know if there's like specific cards in a deck that are going to vastly alter the rules. Like if there's a take that card in the deck that negates something, that's going to have you switching hands or is going to do something that vastly changes somebody's strategy, you need to tell people that that's in the deck. Whether it shows up or not in a particular game, you have to know it's a possibility, because you do not want to have that show up with no warning and have everybody have to switch hands or lose a turn or cancel a card that they've been waiting all game to play. You have to know it's there. Rob has been a board gamer for a couple years now and is wondering how we feel with Kickstarter starting to dominate the market. He has seen so many modern greats, Gloomhaven, Terraforming Mars, Scythe, that he's considering that to be his only avenue of purchasing games going forward. Terraforming Mars wasn't a Kickstarter, was it? Anyway,
It was not.
I feel if I back 3 or 4 Kickstarters a month that are already proving popular, then I am getting a tremendous catalog of games lined up that will take up a fair chunk of the upper echelons of the BGG charts. If I got a dud, then the real resale value may even trump the amount it cost me. Seems a logical approach to take. Are you able to put forward a counter-argument as to why I shouldn't put all my eggs in one basket? Aside for the obvious fact that some games don't go to Kickstarter. I'm not sure how to respond to this.
Well, I think the obvious answer is, why you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket is because that's actually what that phrase means. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. But also because the fact that Terraforming Mars was not Kickstarter, and you mentioned that.
Right.
And we just went to Gen Con and saw a whole pile of fantastic games that are not Kickstarter.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, Kickstarter is definitely a big thing in the market right now. And some of the biggest games, Seventh Continent and Gloomhaven, are Kickstarters. But not all of them are.
No.
So to do that, we'll do a little bit of an advanced search here. And we're going to, on Board Game Geek, I'm going to look for games that have been published in 2017 to 2018. We're going to look for the top ranked games here and see how many of them are Kickstarters. All right, so let's take a look. Blah, blah, blah. Internet's going super slow. Come on, baby. There we go. So the top 3, 4, 5 are Kickstarters.
Okay.
Gloomhaven, Seventh Continent, Rising Sun, Wasteland Express Delivery Service, and Massive Darkness. Then we have Charterstone, which is not a Kickstarter. Gaia Project, which is not a Kickstarter. Sword and Sorcery, which I don't think was a Kickstarter. You know, wait, do I even have these in order? Nope, let's try it again. I just had them in a random order they popped up in.
Sure.
Let's sort them by order and try that again. Gloomhaven, still Kickstarter, it's number 1. Number 2 is Gaia Project, not a Kickstarter. Seventh Continent, Kickstarter. Then Twilight Imperium, not a Kickstarter. Pandemic Legacy, Season 2, not a Kickstarter.
Correct.
Spirit Island, not a Kickstarter. Or was it?
That one I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That's Greater Than Games, right?
So that one might have been a Kickstarter. Yep, it was a Kickstarter. Okay. Azul, definitely not a Kickstarter. Clans of Caledonia, Kickstarter. Rising Sun, Kickstarter. Anacrity, I think was a Kickstarter. Charterstone, not. Lisboa, yes. Codenames Duet, no. Near and Far, yes. Sagrada, no. And so it's like 50-50, right?
Yeah.
So, sure, you can pick just Kickstarter, but I can't tell you how much I oppose that idea, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a whole lot easier to tell you the great Kickstarters after they come out.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of risk there still. You can see.
If I went to the bottom of the list, I bet you it's almost all Kickstarters.
Yep. I mean, there's still a lot of gems out there, for sure, and a lot more hits than there were when things first started on Kickstarter. I mean, you're getting the quality bar has certainly gone up on Kickstarter. But Kickstarter's a marketing platform, just like anything else, and so there are gems in and out of it.
Alrighty, last question is from Daniel. Actually, it's not a question. A couple episodes ago, we heard Jeff talk about basketball rule changes. And so he told us about some rule changes that Kim Jong-un in North Korea made to basketball to make it more exciting.
Okay.
All right, and this is not like a joke. These are just things he did to make it more exciting. So a slam dunk is worth 3 points.
Okay.
If you swoosh a traditional three-pointer, it's 4 points. If you miss a free throw, you lose a point. And in the final 3 minutes of the game, every 2-pointer becomes an 8-pointer.
Whoa.
So the first 3, I'm actually not opposed to. Cool, see more slam dunks. If you swoosh a 3-pointer, it becomes a 4-pointer. That's cool. If you miss a free throw, you lose a point. Great, that makes them even more, exciting to watch. But making every 2-pointer an 8-pointer at the end, that's like a catch-up mechanic.
Yes, it is. Or a shoot-ahead mechanic.
I know.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that last one.
It was 40-36, and then the game ended 100-6 or 100-36 or whatever. Yeah. In the final 3 minutes of a game, you could score a lot of points.
Sure, you could. I don't know if I like any of those.
That's 80 points.
I don't think I like any of those as much as I like the concept that Jeff was talking about with the target score and the clock shutting down, and then you just race to that final score. That sounds interesting. These, I don't know.
Yes, we're not condoning these changes. I just thought it was an interesting, funny thing.
Sure.
All right. Let's get to our top 10.
That's what the clock says.
It's a Dice Tower Top 10!
The Dice Tower's Top 10 list is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.
So the list this week is real-time games. And Tom, you said at first glance you didn't think you would enjoy many of these games.
But when I make this list, I'm like, ooh, I do like a lot of them.
Yeah, well, I discovered that there's a particular aspect of real-time games that I don't like very much. And that's when you've got some sort of like round, a resource collection round or a bidding round or something that is real-time, where everybody's sort of competing and doing something at the same time. But sometimes it's a better strategy to just do whatever the thing is faster than everybody else. Just get it done as quickly as you can without a whole lot of thought, as opposed to going more carefully and making quick decisions, but still thinking about them. Like just throwing all your bidding tokens out there and being the first one to be done is better than thinking about it and making smart decisions. I don't like it when that is part of the system. Like Grumpf was a game that we talked about on Dice Tower tonight, where my kids just threw all their tokens out and then shut down the bidding before I had a chance to even think about what I was doing. Or Steam Park is a game that I've had people play, roll the dice once and just out of the round. Like I'm just going to use these symbols that I rolled. I'm done. And so they get a huge bonus for being the first one done with their dice rolling phase, but so I'd rather have something that does require at least a little bit of thought rather than just a quick in and out round. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I don't have any slapping style games.
I also didn't include...
you flip cards over, boop,
yeah.
Or the first person to see something.
Yes. I think I did pick... I have something on there that might fit that. Yeah,
you have one
that
of
might
those.
fit that rule, but I like it.
Yeah. I don't necessarily dislike those games. That's not my favorite style of real-time strategy. Like, we're basically whoever's faster is going to win.
I guess I like those in a very specific circumstance. I didn't, and it doesn't look like you did either, include any escape room games in this, which are real-time and timed, but I didn't really feel like that's as much the emphasis as the puzzle-solving aspect. You usually get an hour or more for those games. It doesn't feel like the time pressure really kicks into the last few minutes. It's not really the same animal, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't add those on mine either, but yeah, I get it.
So it looks like it's been maybe 2 years since we did this list. Is there any way you think maybe we could spice this up?
All right. Well, we're talking about real-time games. What if we do it in real time? Oh, wait, we're already doing it real time, but what if we give ourselves a time limit?
So what, like 20 minutes?
Let's do 5 minutes.
No, I can't possibly talk about... We can't both go in 5 minutes.
I think I could.
You think? No, let's...
Right.
Okay, wait. How about it's a top 10 list, right?
Yeah.
Let's do 10. Can we do 10?
I could do 1.
Wait.
No, okay, we'll do 10.
So all right, just to be clear, we need to do both of our lists in 10 minutes.
All right. Woo. The pressure's on.
Yeah,
pressure's on. It's like pandemic all over again.
Yes, exactly. I'm craving that sort of tension. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, ready. Go.
Number 10.
My number 10 is Me Want Cookies. It's a kid's game from Yellow where you have to draw paths around from like cookie to cake and cake to something else and then grab a symbol as fast as you can. My kids really enjoy it, and I wanted to throw one of those types of games into the mix. Number 10, Me Want Cookies.
My number 10 is higher on Eric's list because I don't have a good reason.
Oh, sure. If your whole list is like that, it's not going to take you any time at all.
Number 9.
Number 9 for me is Time and Space, which is a revision of Space Dealer, which is a game where you're picking up and delivering stuff, except you have timers that you have to use to do your actions, to move your ship, to create things, to build technology. I like the revision. I think it's a cool system. That tension throughout is pretty cool as you try and fly around as fast as you can. Number 9, Time and Space.
My number 9 is Panic on Wall Street, which is basically sort of a quick trading back and forth. Think Pit, but a little bit more going on. Half the players are bankers, half the players are trading them stocks, and so there's going to be 2 winners, one from each group, and so you have these periods of time where you're just all frantically trading and trying to get the best deals that you possibly can. Then you roll dice and see what happens to everybody. I really like it a lot. Also goes to 11 players. Panic on Wall Street.
I got submitted to this or subjected to it recently. It was nerve-wracking.
Number 8.
My number 8 is Damage Report. It's a sci-fi cooperative game in which you have timers that do your actions, but as areas of the ship get damaged, they take longer now to do your action. You may only take 15 seconds to do your action when things are working perfectly, but as things go wrong, it starts to take 30 seconds or even a minute to do an action. You can spend time to repair those things, but that's even more time, and if you run out of time, well, the ship explodes. Damage Report, my number 8.
I think I like another game better than that. Okay, number 8 for me is Millennium Blades. This is a CCG game. It's basically you're collecting a collectible card game, and it's split into 15-minute time frames where during that 15 minutes you're trading and doing all sorts of things back and forth, and then 15 minutes is up, and then you got to actually play the little card game and see who wins. I kind of like this. Have some frantic time, and then actually pause and do something fun. And this game really does simulate the collectible card game very, very well. Millennium Blades.
Number 7.
My number 7 is one of the games that Tom was talking about at the top. It's called Stroop, which refers to an effect where you have to read something that is different from the aspect of that card. So you have, say, a card that says hollow, except the words are in bold. And you have to play a card that relates to an aspect of the card, but not the text that's on that card, and trying to get rid of the cards in your hand as quickly as you can. It's mind-bending, it's tricky, but you're all playing at the same time, trying to do it faster than your opponents. It's similar to Set, which is another real-time game that may or may not be on our lists. But I like this one better. Stroop, my number 7.
My number 7 is Tale of Pirates. This is a more modern game in which you're all cooperatively working on a ship that's being attacked from all different sides by other pirates and by the English ships that are trying to take you out for no reason at all. You're flipping timers and activating things together. I'm not normally a big fan of these flipping timer games, but in a cooperative game, this one is a lot of fun. It also comes with an app that controls all this stuff, and the theme stays nice and strong. A Tale of Pirates.
Number 6.
Number 6 for me is Space Cadets Dice Duel. This was Tom's number 10. You are opposing teams of starship crews and trying to fly around and get into a position where you can shoot the other teams. The expansion, Die Fighter, is also quite cool. It has a single-player ship that flies around and goes pew-pew-pew at things. You're rolling dice and allocating them to the different stations and trying to get into position. Coordination is key. It's a very cool game from Team Engelstein. Space Cadets Dice Duel, my number 6, Tom's number 10.
My number 6 is higher on Eric's list again. We'll get there eventually. I hear a gong. Hey, we're halfway. How much time we have left?
We have just over 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 50 seconds.
Go!
Number 5.
So, number 5, Walkstar. This is a game about running a Chinese restaurant. You are given its small little bursts of real time. You have about 20 seconds. It's actually adjustable in at least the second edition of the game, where you may have 20 seconds, 30 seconds to deal with somebody's order, and you have to make the recipes, get the ingredients, make more of those ingredients, use those ingredients, buy more recipes in these small little bursts before the customer gets mad and leaves the store. You have to earn enough money over a certain number of rounds to save the restaurant. I enjoy Walkstar, and it may be passed by Kitchen Rush, but I haven't played Kitchen Rush enough yet to really compare the two completely. Walkstar, my number 5.
I just realized I never talked about Space Cadets Dice Duel on Eric's turn. I also really like that game. It's been surpassed by one that's farther up my list, but I really like rolling dice quickly. My number 5 is Galaxy Trucker. I love the half the game is just quickly building a ship as fast as you can, and you're trying to make it cool and big and amazing, and then it all blows up. It's hilarious, but if it wasn't for that timed element, people would take too long and the game would be boring. I love it, Galaxy Trucker.
That's true, but the real-time element's only about half of the game. The other part is the watching everything blow up.
That's fine, but it's that's the part that matters.
Sure.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Escape, which was Tom's number 6. Escape. It's got a soundtrack. The games last 10 minutes. The kids and I were just talking about this in the car. My kids really enjoy it. Your dice rolling as quickly as you can. You can get your dice locked. You may need help unlocking those dice. You have to solve lots of mini tasks. And then when the gong goes off, you have to rush back to the entrance tile. That happens twice. And then eventually you have to find the exit and get enough crystals and roll enough keys to get out of the dungeon, out of the tomb. It's tricky and frantic, and when you're done, you're sort of sweating. But real time for sure. Escape, number 4. Tom's number 6.
I love it. Such a tense game. Really, really fun, and I like all the expansions for it. My number 4 is higher on Eric's list. We'll get our way there eventually.
Let's go to the mall.
Number 3.
Number 3 for me is Fuse, another dice rolling cooperative game in which you're trying to do combinations of these dice. It's a dice draft with a timer, and depending on what version of the timer you use, it can be a snarky timer. You roll, if you had 4 players, you're going to roll 4 dice, but you have to draft those dice and put them into pattern cards and complete sequences that are going to help you score points and work your way through the deck before time runs out. I enjoy having to make those quick decisions, sometimes getting forced to use a die, grab a die you can't use, which can hurt you in the long run. Number 3, Fuse.
Yeah, Fuse is an excellent game. My number 3 is Stellar Conflict. This is a game in which the actual game is faster than scoring. You throw a bunch of ships on a table. Boom, 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 boom. Everyone's doing it at the same time. Craziness. And you pause, and you see what ships shoot the other ships. It's hilarious. There's different factions. This was actually based on an earlier game named Lightspeed. But this is a small little game that you can carry around and then just throw out the ships as fast as you can. Lots of fun. Stellar Conflict.
Number 2.
Number 2 was Tom's number 4. That is Magic Maze.
Woohoo.
The cooperative game in which 4 adventurers are working their way through a mall, except you can only do certain actions. You're moving all of the characters, but you can only move them in certain ways. I might only be able to move them north. You can move them south. And you can't talk during the course of the game. Also, the timer is going, and the timing aspect, the reason it's so high on my list is because the timing is vastly important. There are certain areas of the board in which you can flip the timer over and sort of reset, earn you more time. You have to use these spaces in order to do well in the game. But the timing of when you do it is also vastly important because you simply flip the timer over. If I do it too early, maybe I'm not gaining that much time at all. But if I, and you can only communicate while you're standing on that space, but the timer is still going. It's not cool, man. It's very difficult, but the team coordination is very interesting. It's tricky. Magic Maze, number 2.
Yeah, I'm excited to get the giant board for this. I like this a lot. I like the expansions. I love the stress that it brings, but that you really have to work together, and one person can't tell everyone what to do because they have to keep your mouth shut. There's also an excellent kids version. My number 2 is higher on Eric's list. Ping! We're there.
And finally, number 1.
My number 1 was Tom's number 2. That is Captain Sonar, the team-based game that beats Dice Duel. Sorry, Jeff. You're 2 teams in a submarine. You're tracking each other's movements. The hidden aspect is very, very cool here. You can play not real time. 1 minute, by the way. You can play not real time, but it's much better playing real time, trying to surface, do everything quickly because you get more mistakes. Trying to interpret the other team's movements. When you lock on to where the other team is, it is so cool. That feeling when you know where they are and you can hone in on them. It's Captain Sonar, number 1 real-time game.
Oh, so close to being my number 1, but my number 1, and I really do love the Captain Sonar, fantastic game. My number 1 is Project Elite, which was just announced for a reprint by Simon. Yes! With great miniatures. Yes! It's a game where you're blasting through hordes of aliens that are pouring down corridors. You're running around rolling dice as fast as you can to shoot them off, and then you pause. And you think about it, then you do 2 more minutes of Frenzy, then you pause, you think about it, it's fantastic.
15 seconds.
Great, I love this game. My number 1, Project Elite.
All right, we finished with 12 seconds to spare. Is that enough time to do the People's Choice?
Good thing we had a lot of crossover there.
Yeah. Yeah, you were fine. You had to do a lot less talking than I did.
Okay, well, I guess we can now be less stressed here about the time.
I'm sweating. That
all
was...
Right, well, fantastic games. Tell us, folks, what your favorite are in our forums. If you don't know, we have multiple forums. We have a Facebook group. Lots of fun people talking there in the Facebook group. And we have forums on Board Game Geek. You can find this stuff through our website, Dicetower.com.
Yep, and our emails, Tom@Dicetower.com and Eric@Dicetower.com.
That's right. We finally have that. It's nice. Or questions@Dicetower.com. Those come to me also for the show.
Huh.
We need more questions. Send us some great questions. You know, I think it's time to pause the top 10 lists. Don't worry. We're still going to do them. They're going to come back. But the next time me and Eric are going to come here, we're going to skip a top 10 list, and we're just going to review a pile of games.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to do this all the time, but we have so many games I need to talk about.
We need to do
very many.
a review of Palooza. So I need to play some stuff over the next couple weeks to make sure I can try.
Yeah, you got 2 weeks.
There's no way I can keep up with you, Tom, but I think I will at least try to compete.
I think you're going to have to, bring it on in the next episode because I'm not going to be carrying my weight very well. I'll be weeping the whole episode. because it will be during my road trip to college.
Oh, yes. So am I going to be talking to you while you're on the road?
It may be, or maybe before. We'll figure that out. But either way, it's going to be super close.
Oh, man. Your gaming partner off to college. You're going to have to play online, Tom.
I'm going to be playing a lot more solitaire games now. And on that cheerful note, I think we're at the other end of an episode.
I think we are. Time marches forward.
I'm game soon. I'm going to game tomorrow. I'm going to game Saturday. Oh, man, just lots of gaming in my future. And lots of other things, too, because there's more to life than gaming. Lots of great times. Hey, we'll see you all soon enough in the future. Eric has Grand Con on the horizon.
I do.
We'll be going to Iceland soon. And we'll all be showing up at Essen and PAX Unplugged, but that's far enough in the future. Right now, I just want to relax and play some games.
Yes.
So let's do that. You guys do it. Stop listening to podcasts all the time and play some games. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This episode, number 568, was recorded on August 9th, 2018. Coming up next week, Mandy and Suze talk about some of the Gen Con games they've played recently. And in 2 weeks, Tom and I assemble a Review-a-Palooza. This podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is dedicated to providing support to members of the board gaming community in their hour of need. If a catastrophic event has become more than you can handle, find out how we can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom, Mandy, Suzanne, and Eric, with assistance from Itai Perez, Derek Porter, and Rob Searing. Our competition between various nomadic civilizations to see who can make the best Reuben sandwich provided by The Rise of Tribes. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Let us know what you think of the show by posting to the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, following the Dice Tower on Twitter, or by emailing us at dicetower@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network, including Four Corners of the Board, Boards and Swords, The Game Pit, The Party Game Cast featuring The Party Game Cast, Board Games Insider, and Flip Flory Super Saturday Board Game Serial. Find out more at dicetowernetwork.com. And until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
I do want to clarify that if you're driving a car, you probably should not stop and play games right now.
No.
That's a bad idea.
No, if you have passengers, though, maybe they can play a game.
That's
You
true. Make it fun for them. If you're in LA traffic, you can play like TI4.
Yeah. I mean, you could maybe be the counter. If they're playing a real-time game, you could count to 30 for them while you're driving. I think that's okay.
Group was an accident. Police are still not sure what happened. Plastic pieces and counters everywhere. One man struggles from the wreckage, smiling, saying, "At least my cards were sleeved."
Maybe that's how the meeple ended up on your lawn.